Hey guys, welcome back to JD Mods. Today we're taking a break from the regular MR2 content, building Ali's MR2 Ellie, and I'm going to be showing you guys my next build. It's been on the channel before, but as we approach winter, it's the one that's going to start to have more videos on the channel, and I kind of want to give a little introduction by showing you guys the car and all the plans I have for it. So without further ado, let me uncover it. So this is my 1992 Mazda RX7. This is a right-hand drive FD RX7, the third generation. I love these cars. Many of you guys might know I had and built one of these on the channel before. Built it in 2019 and drove it in 2020. But I was building that car with the intention of selling, and when I sold that car, it was when I was able to afford my MR2, which of course I love as well. But unfortunately, I was missing the RX7 so much that I found myself buying another one. I definitely won't make the same mistake of selling this one, because every time I sell it, I have to buy another one for more money. But luckily, I really do enjoy the build process. So I'm going to build this one not to sell, but strictly for me. So I'm going to build it to my liking, not with retail value in mind. In today's video, I'm going to tell you guys what my plans are for this car. So before I get to the build plans, I actually would like to start off with a little story about the history of this specific car, kind of how I bought it, the history before I had it, and what I had to do to get the ownership for it. So I have this little binder of all my findings that will tell the story, so let me show you guys what it looks like. So I try to be very organized and keep all the data for this car in this little binder, and I thought it'd be really cool to show you guys what I had to do and what I found out about this car, because it's always fun knowing the history of a car. These cars are getting quite old, so they do hold a lot of history. So let me run you guys through the situation. Basically, when I bought this car, it had no ownership. No one really knew why. It wasn't a stolen car or anything, it just didn't have the ownership. Which of course is a problem, because I wanted to drive this car on the road. It helped me get a good deal on this car, but it was a big pain to get it back. So the first thing I did is I searched up the VIN number, which of course is just written on the firewall. And it has a JDM VIN, which makes it a little bit harder to search on the Canadian MTO pages, or if you're in the States, if you look up a Japanese VIN, usually nothing would come up, especially if it wasn't registered in your province or state. So what I had to do is I went on this website, which gave you the auction results, an auction sheet from Japan. So I typed in the VIN, it gave me the year, make, model, mileage, 130,000 kilometers, which I didn't really know because it's just a shell. You couldn't even turn it on and see the cluster. And it even gave you the sold price in Japan, which was 279,000 Japanese yen in 2008. So this was when the car would have been exported from Japan. So this was sold in Japan for around 279,000 yen, which is hilarious. I think that's like $3,000 back in 2008. And it was a grade 4, I believe, so it wasn't wrecked or anything. It was blue, repainted red, red repainted blue, my bad. And the cooler part is these are the sheets you kind of get. Has like the auction number, a bunch of writing in Japan, and like a little photo of your car that has like where there's a scratch. Right there you can see the windshield is cracked, which is how I got my car. So I knew not much had changed since I got it, or since it was imported from Japan. I'll quickly scroll through these because most people probably can't read Japanese. You can see it's auction grade 3, I believe. I don't know why the one sheet said 4. You can see these are all very simple. The reason there's so many is because it would have went through the auction block a whole bunch of times before it finally sold. So I downloaded all these because I thought it was really cool. And this is the one I believe where it actually sold. And then I had to pay for a service to translate the Japanese to English. And I was able to find out quite a few cool things about this car. Let me read them to you. Basically, from this auction sheet that I know is my car because the VIN matched, I found out it had non-original aero parts, had hood pins on a Emia, I think I'm saying that right, hood. I believe it was like a red carbon fiber, super cool special edition hood. Now what I did from there was super sneaky. I pretty much Googled any cars for sale in 2008 or 2009 with the similar mods. This very rare carbon fiber hood. It had like a rear diffuser, and I actually found a listing from an old forum. This is of course before Facebook Marketplace and Kijiji in Canada here. Most people sold cars on forums. So this is from some forum posted in 2008 saying it was just imported, originally red, repainted blue, had the same mods that this was done to it. Of course the ad didn't list the VIN, but I had a pretty good idea. It was the same car based on the mods, the time, and it was in the same province, Alberta. So basically from that I was able to find who sold it. Here's some photos of the car, listing from 2008. You can see it's a very similar color. There's also a few small details that led me to believe it was the same car. There's the engine bay that used to be red, repainted blue, and just little things like where this photo has some gauges mounted. There's like a little bit of glue on my dash right there where that gauge used to be mounted. So in my opinion, this is this car here, many years ago, and it's actually a Pan Speed show car from Japan, which is pretty cool. So from there, I was able to find out who sold it in Alberta to people over here, and with that chain of owners, the MTO allowed me to get the ownership and put it in my name. So super exciting. This car is officially registered with a clean Ontario title in my name. So what that meant is I could finally buy parts and plan out the build, which is what I'll talk about now. So finally, to talk about the build plans. First, why don't we talk about the shell, because you've been staring at it this whole video. I clearly have started working on it already. I did not buy it like this. It's missing lots of body panels. It's half blue, half yellow, missing the windshield, and it's pretty stripped down. So I got pretty excited when I bought this car and just started tearing into it because I really wanted to know what parts I needed. My goal is to have all the parts I need before I even start building it, really. Now of course that leads you down a pathway of buying lots of stuff, but I hope it leads to a better final car. Anyway, when I got the car, it had this blue paint. It's been resprayed, but it is not good condition. It's really hard to tell on camera. In some of the past videos, people have said you should keep the paint. As you can see, I'm wrapping it yellow, which I already talked about in one of my older videos. But on my last RX7, sorry, I always wanted a yellow one, but I didn't know if I actually wanted to paint it yellow because I also like white, red, black, blue, all the color RX7s. So I went with some Tech Wrap RB25 golden yellow. As you can see here, we're going to be doing a whole video on wrapping it, so I won't touch on it in today's video. But this is the color I am wrapping the car. It's a fairly budget vinyl, but I've been really happy with it. So that is the exterior plan. Wrap it Tech Wrap yellow, keep it stock body. I bought these rims for it. They are work reps. I've never been someone to spend big money on rims. If a good deal came up on genuine 2 or 3 piece wheels, I would probably consider it, but for this point, at this point in time, these came up for a good price. It came on like mismatched drift spares. I really like the design, and I know it'd be nice to have authentic rims, but for the price, I couldn't turn them down, so this is what we're running for now, and I couldn't be happier. It is on BC Racing coilovers that came with the shell. That was a super good deal. Had a broken windshield, as you saw in the auction sheet, which I'm going to be replacing. I might make a video on the whole RX7 windshield replacement process. If you want to see that, let me know. And of course, the interior from sitting was infested with mice. I need to give it a really good clean. We're going to be testing out different products for getting rid of that smell. And then as I put everything back in, I'm going to make sure to freshen up every single interior piece with touch-up paint, clean it really well with alcohol, and hopefully we're gonna get the shell looking brand new. For the engine bay, since I'm wrapping it yellow and I plan to wrap it white and probably a few other colors over the time I want to own this car, I'm just gonna be painting the engine bay gloss black. It's a nice neutral color, it doesn't show dirt, it works with all the colors I would like to go with, and I think a gloss black engine bay will look quite nice. So on the topic of engine bay, we'll talk about the drivetrain next. I pretty much have the most important pieces right here actually. This car came with a LS swap kit, including the subframe, the PPF, the power plant frame for LS T56 transmission. Came with a T56 drive shaft, but I really like the RX-7 mostly because of the rotary. I really enjoy building rotaries. I like the way they sound. I like how unique they are. So I was able to trade all of my LS swap kits, plus cash of course, for a 13B REW and the FD 5-speed transmission. Of course this is nice because it'll bolt right into the stock subframe, but I have no idea what the condition of this motor is. Luckily I was going to build it no matter what. It spins over nicely. I have no reason to believe it's exploded, and it looks like it was stored quite well. The last owner kind of covered up any ports getting into the engine, so hopefully there's no moisture or anything in there. But as you can see, it comes with lots of accessories. It's not just the keg. We have the turbos, some of the pulley accessories. We even have a clutch and flywheel. So yeah, a pretty complete engine and transmission with shifter tripod. So this is what we're going to be rebuilding before dumping it in the RX-7. So now I'm going to show you all the parts I've accumulated, most of which I've been storing in the ceiling. Alright, so just spent a few minutes here getting all the parts down from the ceiling so I can show you guys. Most of them are stock parts, but there's a few aftermarket parts here that I think are worth showing. And stick around to the end because I'll show you my secret collection of parts from our basement, which has more of the aftermarket parts. But for now, let's start in order here from left to right. I'll move quite quickly. This car has rear seats rather than some RX-7s have rear storage containers. This is what the JDM cars came with. You can interchange them, but I like the seats. It's just very period correct of that time in Japan to have very, very small rear seats in your sports car. So mine aren't in great condition, but I'm hoping to reupholster them with a cherry red cover you can buy, which mimics the Spirit R, like 1999 generation, kind of era RX-7 from Japan. So that's the deal with the rear seats. Let's just jump right into the exhaust. This exhaust came with my 13B swap. I think it looks very cool. Let me try and get a name for it, guys. I believe it's RSR. Well, I thought I had a little nameplate on here, but it must not. Either way, it's a really cool looking exhaust. I think it's an RSR exhaust, but I could be completely wrong. If you know, let me know in the comments below. Oh, here it is. Kakimoto Racing. Has two mufflers, unless it's a muffler and a resonator, I'm not too sure. And the tip on it's really neat in my opinion. It has like a little rolled tip at the end, which I don't see very often, and I really like it. I think it's kind of cool I got a genuine exhaust for it. That I have the mid pipe for that as well, or down pipe, I can't remember. But this is a catted mid pipe. Has a high flow cat that I'm going to run to stay legal. I picked up a dual oil cooler setup. This is from like the R1 models, I believe. You can also just run a single oil cooler, but I got the dual with all the lines from a local seller. We got some of the stock interior trim pieces. They're not in bad condition. I have every single interior piece I need, with the exception of the rear speaker covers, as they are getting quite hard to find. If you know anyone who has them, let me know. This here is a huge aftermarket intercooler, which I actually bought off someone's FD setup, so this fits an FD. It is absolutely massive. A lot of people on the FDs run the V-mount setup of the rad and the intercooler, but I personally love the look of a huge front mount intercooler, especially on my aftermarket bumper, which has a big cutout, so you can see the intercooler really well. So that's the intercooler I'm planning on running. We'll see how well it fits. It looks huge. I'm not going to be running AC, so I don't have to worry about that too much. And this is from the same person. I picked up a little aluminum rad. It looks custom. It looks a little like greasy over here, probably from an oil cooler. I was told it doesn't leak, so let's hope that's true. So there's the rad. In these boxes here, we have just more interior bits. Cluster. It's all stock stuff, but it's all there. The cluster, of course, is broken, so I might do a little video on repairing the cluster, the hood, cluster hood. We got more parts over here. I'm trying to find some of the more interesting parts. The taillights are somewhere in here. I special ordered taillights from Japan because the taillights I had on it were in very poor condition. They're not in this box. I believe they're in that box, so we'll get to them in a second. I have two front bumpers. This reminded me. These are the 93 style, the early bumper signals. I have a 93 bumper, and I also have an aftermarket bumper which accepts 99 style turn signals, which I will be running. But it's nice to know I have a 93 bumper if I ever want to switch up the look of the car. Just more interior pieces here with a kind of noteworthy carbon fiber headlight cover. I have the set of these. One of them has the little intake in it on the right hand side. That's the side with the intakes on the FD. So these are kind of cool. I'm not sure if I should keep them carbon fiber or just wrap them yellow to match the rest of the car. I feel like I'm going to wrap them yellow, but if I ever get a carbon fiber hood, I'll definitely leave them the carbon fiber color. Moving right along. This is just some HVAC stuff, nothing exciting here. The steering shaft that came on the car actually has an authentic Momo race steering wheel. I'm not a big Momo steering wheel guy, but I thought it was kind of cool. I checked the back of this, and this one was manufactured in 1997. I was born in 96, so it's pretty much the same age as me, which I thought was kind of neat. So I might run that wheel, but I'm a pretty big fan of OEM wheels, so I'll probably just run a reupholstered OEM wheel. And the last box from the garage stash looks to be the taillights, which is very exciting. Here's the ones that were on the car when I bought it. These are all the early pre-99 spec taillights, which I think is an unpopular opinion, but I actually like them more. I think they're more classy, and I find the 99 spec do look more modern, but I like the block styling inside of the curved lenses. I quite like that, but as you can see, this one's all messed up. Takes on water because it's all silicone together, and there's little bits of stuff shaking around in there. So I'm going to be using the lens off of this one. I have basically one good, see this one, the back half is good, but the chip out of the corner. So I bought a mid-range set from Japan off of a website called From Japan. You can see this one, the lens is bad, but the back half is in good condition. So I'm just gonna make a good set of taillights. I'm gonna polish them all up nice and clear coat them, and they're gonna come out looking perfect. The only other thing in this box is also from Japan, some rear speakers with the speaker brackets. Got a great deal on these, even after the super expensive Japanese shipping. So there's my little parts pile I've been storing in the garage. Mostly OEM parts, but a few aftermarket parts. Hopefully you guys like looking at parts, because next we're gonna go inside the house where I kind of keep these smaller, more rare and exciting parts. We're inside now, and I think it's time to show you guys the super cool storage area for all my car parts. Come on in. Hopefully it doesn't look too small on camera, but this is where I store all the car parts for pretty much all 7 of our cars. Lots of RX-7 parts in this kind of corner over here. I'll bring them out so you can see the more rare items. Lots of 2J stuff over here. Tons of MR2 stuff because we have my MR2, Ali's MR2, and I've had a few others that I don't even think made it on the channel. And then just more OEM parts. You can see we have like some parts in bubble wrap which were ordered from Japan for the Blit and the Aristos. We have some 2JZ single turbo parts for Ali's build this winter. Got some MR2 intercooler, side vents, inspection panels, and just more MR2 parts and some spray paint. But let me show you guys the reason you came here for today's video is the RX-7 parts. Okay, not too many RX-7 parts, but I'm gonna take out a bin or two and show you guys the more exciting parts for this build. Oh, surprisingly heavy. Just gotta squeeze through the hole here. Okay. Here are all the exciting RX-7 parts. The only parts I didn't dig out of the cave were some seats which I'm going to reupholster, a secondary steering shaft with the ignition key as mine did not come with that, and the front crash bar for a 93 spec bumper, which I'm going to have to modify for my 99 spec bumper. So let's just dive into some of these bins. The first one's quite an exciting bin. Some parts I ordered from across the country actually, but still within Canada. This is a Gruddy Air INX intake kit. Super cool, period correct in my opinion, like authentic intake. I know a lot of people have some controversy about this style filter with the foam inserts breaking down and the engine sucking them up. So I don't know if I'm going to run the filter itself for a very long time, but I do have brand new Air INX filters that I'm going to run, and I think I'm just going to have to keep an eye on them to make sure they're not like degrading and could potentially damage my engine. But honestly, people run turbos with no filter at all, so I think it'll be fine. So that of course is for the twin turbo setup, so it has 2 pipes and 2 filters with the blue filters in it right now and the yellow brand new filters, which I'm gonna run yellow to match the yellow wrap. A few just random engine bay accessories, including some zinc coated engine hooks that I got from Europe or the UK. Most of these parts are actually from Europe because FDs are reasonably priced over there compared to here, and some of them get parted out. And there's this one guy on eBay who sells a lot of parts, and I buy a lot of stuff off of him. Okay, these are parts that did not come with my engine swap that I kind of had to buy separately. We have a stock ECU from my last build actually. Pretty much the only noteworthy item in here. An engine mount, don't care about that. We have a starter. Most expensive part that I was having a hard time finding actually was the stock intake manifold. Upper intake manifold specifically. I don't know why these are so hard to find, but they are. So this cost me a good chunk of change, and I also have to buy the throttle body, but I have it now. They're only getting harder to find. They do make aftermarket ones, but they're very expensive. It looks like this one was polished, or someone started to polish it. Polishing is a lot of work though, so I might just spray paint it silver. Either way, kind of just stock engine items, so let's move on to some aftermarket parts. Moving right along. Bought these from someone in Canada as well. These are aftermarket 99 spec black housing headlights. OEM ones are quite expensive. I'm not even sure if you can still buy them. But these are aftermarket ones. I got a great deal on them. They come with the wiring to adapt your 93, a harness I believe. Got a great deal on those, and those go with my bumper. Didn't include the bumper in today's video, but if you watch some of the old RX-7 content, you'll see it from the day I bought the car. It was on the car. So what that bin is, the one light, the reason I got a good deal is it was kind of hot or something, and they set it on something with some sort of a texture, so it has some damage, and I'm going to make a video about polishing that out. It'll polish out no problem. So, and if I ever want to replace them with OEM ones, I can, but at least now I have something. Moving along, we actually have a box of OEM parts. Took me a while to get these in from my local Mazda dealership, but I won't go through every single piece, but we've got some OEM clips, some windshield molding stuff, windshield dam for replacing my windshield. I've got the front cowl, trim pieces, I've got a few seat bolts, rear transmission seal. Nothing super exciting here, especially for a video, but OEM parts are always fun. You know, they come in the little bags, and believe it or not, sometimes it's cheaper to buy OEM than aftermarket. Like these little switches that go off when you open and close your door. This is an OEM switch made in Japan, and it was like $9 or something Canadian. So sometimes it is cheaper to just buy straight from Mazda, and there's no shipping. It just gets delivered to your local dealership. So I urge you to try that if you don't do it already. This one's very exciting. This is the Apexi Power FC Boost Controller Kit. So of course, Apexi Power FC is a very common ECU to run on FDs. It's basically, I believe it's a modified stock ECU, but I could be totally wrong on that. It is a standalone ECU. I just don't know if it starts out as a stock ECU and they modify it, or if it's built from scratch. But it bolts right in. It has a base map that works with a stock engine, and then from there you can use the commander to do some tuning inside the car without a laptop, or you can plug in a data log JIT or something like that program to tune it on a laptop. And this kit is special. I got this for a great deal, and it has a map sensor with some adapters and a boost solenoid to actually control boost with the Apexi Power FC. I don't know if it has fun functionality like boost by gear or anything, but even having a boost controller built into the ECU I think is really cool. And I don't think it's new, but it comes with the original box and like a little instruction manual in Japanese, but still really cool. So that's a very exciting part. 2 bins left. Go over this one really quickly. This one we have a stock 13B wiring harness. We have a brake booster, a couple gaskets, another stock ECU. This says cube shifter, but it's just an OEM shifter that I might rebuild, and it has some clutch pedals. Nothing worth taking out of the bin in my opinion, but thought I should mention it for a complete list of parts. And the last bin, oh, that's heavy stuff. The last bin does have some more exciting parts. I'm going to go over this one in a little more detail. Let's open her up. And the most exciting part, potentially in this bin, is right on top. My car did not come with floor mats, and I was tempted to get just like Canadian Tire or Bonsai Race. No, Garage Alpha sells aftermarket floor mats, but I spent a similar amount of money getting authentic ones. I've really taken to appreciate the period correct or OEM parts rather than like modern recreated parts. So this was one way of doing it, by buying what I believe are OEM floor mats. I really like the pattern on them. They're not just like black and they have the gold emblem in there. I think it's very cool. And the one has a little bit of wear by the feet, but they're both in very good condition. And I got these for, I think, a pretty good deal. I don't remember the exact number, but it was about the same as the Garage Alpha right-hand drive floor mats, without the emblem. So I think I got a really good deal on those, and I'm very excited about them. Here's the other carbon fiber headlight cover with the intake. I think I like them, but I also like the OEM ones, so I might scoop a pair of OEM headlight covers to play with as well. A few more pieces to get through, and then that's it. Those are the seatbelt buckles, nothing exciting. Let's open up this little box. These I were quite surprised when I found. Mine came with smoked indicators. These are not OEM, but they're like OEM style, I guess you'd call it, reproduction. So they're brand new amber signals. These were super cheap, like $30 or $40 for the pair off eBay. I think it's just a nice way to freshen up the look of the car. I find aftermarket smoked or clear signals and lenses a little bit tacky. And I'm trying to keep this build clean, so that's why I bought those. A few more interior trim pieces. I've got this gaudy red shifter bezel, and the only reason I bought this, believe it or not, was it had a shift boot that I needed and these buttons. These buttons are surprisingly expensive and hard to find, and I bought this whole bezel with the shift boot for like $100, so local to me. So I scooped that up. There's the boot for it. Trying to see if any of this is exciting stuff. A couple seatbelt buckles. Looks like this is mostly interior parts. I've tried to organize some stuff into bags with labels where I can, but I'm going to be replacing most of the hardware with new stuff anyway. Yeah, just a glove box and center console. I can literally smell my car inside this bin, and that's something we're going to try and get rid of. It smells a little bit like just 90s Japanese cars with a bit of mouse infestation. If you've never smelt an imported car, you might not know what this smells like, but I think we've had about 3 or 4 cars smell just like this. So that's what this smells like. But yeah, that's all the exciting parts. So I think I'll end the parts video here, surrounded by my mess of overpriced parts. But hopefully this video gets you guys a little bit hyped on the build like it has for me. We will finish Ali's MR2 first, but I am planning on painting the engine bay before it gets too cold here, as I don't want to have to heat it up and then open the doors for ventilation. So we're going to start by painting the engine bay, then probably dive right into interior, rebuilding the motor, exterior work, whatever needs to be done to rebuild the car. Maybe let me know in the comments below your favorite part you've seen, what you want to see videos on of the car. I didn't do too many on my last build, so I'm going to try and do more with this build. Overall, let me know your thoughts on this build, what you think of the car, and as always, thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe.